Hello, everyone, and welcome to the wild and weird and wacky world of the Word. And it's also a wonderful world at the same time. Looking at Psalm 14, and Psalm 14 is the alternate psalm that's paired up with the alternate Old Testament reading. You might recall, we talked about that earlier in the week, and that is the lesson we have where David messes around with Bathsheba, and in order to have Bathsheba all for himself and to get away with the fact that he impregnated her and this, that, and the other, he has her husband killed in battle. And it's just a one holy mess. And I mean literally holy mess. Because David was anointed as king and is supposed to be in love with God. And, well, here's the thing. Here's the psalm. It says, denunciation of godlessness. To the leader, it's a psalm of David. A psalm of David. Can you believe that? Well, and it's very appropriate. It's fitting. Fools say in their hearts, there is no God. They are corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There's no one who does good. And the psalm goes on in that line. God's looking down from heaven, sees that there's no one on earth who seek after God. Everyone has gone astray. They're perverse. They have no knowledge. All they want to do is eat up God's people. Eat up God's people. Yeah. And it's just a weird psalm. But it ends with a word of hope for those who are being taken advantage of. Oh, that deliverance for Israel would come from Zion when the Lord restores the fortunes of his people. Jacob will rejoice. Israel will be glad. So, it's kind of a neat psalm. It's kind of compact, small. It's only 7 verses long. But when you first look at it, it's like, what's this all about? Well, the Apostle Paul uses it in Romans chapter 3. It's part of his whole deal in which he gets around to saying, after he quotes from this psalm, all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Well, that's not what intrigues me about this psalm. It's the fact that I happen to look, and it says, there's a little reference to Psalm 53, verses 1 through 6. So I flip to that. It's the exact same psalm. It's the same thing, word for word, except for one little section. When you get down to verse 5, there's just a little change. And that change is writing to a very specific thing that's happening now in Psalm 53 as opposed to Psalm 14. And I'll read both of them for you so you can make out the difference for yourself. Now I got to flip back to Psalm 14. And here we go. Psalm 14 says, there they shall be in great terror, for God is with the company of the righteous. You would confound the plans of the poor, but God is their refuge. Now listen to Psalm 53. There they shall be in great terror, in terror such as not been, for God will scatter the bones of the ungodly. They will be put to shame, for God has rejected them. So evidently, there's just one thing different between the two psalms, and it was taken, used, and reworked a little bit. But there's one big way it's been reworked that we don't see reading our English translations. And that is in Psalm 14, when there's reference made to God, it's Yahweh. There are a couple places where it's Elohim, which is the other way of saying God in the Old Testament scriptures. And Elohim is actually a plural word, which means gods, but that was used in reference to Yahweh in the Old Testament. But instead of using Yahweh, it uses Elohim all the way through. So it shows that this psalm was used and adapted for a different time in a different place, and whoever did that made sure that it was around and people used it. You would think Oh, wow. Whoever put the Psalter together, they would have noticed, hey, this is the same psalm. We're not going to put this in here twice. But that's not what they did. They kept both of them, even though there's that slight variation in verse 5. Otherwise, they said, hey, it's good. We're keeping it. Just a little strange, little wild, little weird, little strange that you would have a chunk of scripture like that. But I'm telling you, that's not the only place. We've already made references when you get back into the Chronicles and the Kings and even the Samuels. You'll see things repeated word for word at length, whole chunks of scripture, because they were being used in different circumstances and they come across with a slightly different emphasis. Scripture plagiarizing itself, that's kind of what's going on, but it's okay because it all comes together to speak to us about our relationship with God, especially Psalm 14. It's a warning to you and to me. Fools say in their hearts, there is no God. Fools say in their hearts. It's believed this was directed to the people of Israel who went about saying all the right things about God and worshiping, but in their hearts they said, no God for me. God's blessings be with you. It's a beautiful day, and hopefully it's as nice where you are as it is right here. We'll see you later.